Happy Thanksgiving weekend and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gerry Dick. Well, it is here, the annual buying frenzy, the traditional holiday shopping season kicking into high gear. From traditional shopping hubs like Keystone at the Crossing in Indianapolis to the charm of small town Indiana throughout the state, retailers are preparing for a period that for some can be make or break. National retail sales expected to increase between 2.5% to 3.5%, in line with performance over the course of the past 10 years, with most shoppers planning to buy online. Also, clothing, accessories considered the hottest gifts. When it comes to what fuels buying the Indiana economy, we're getting a rather optimistic outlook of what the future holds for manufacturing states like Indiana.
The American Midwest has cheaper property, plant, equipment, and has the know-how to make things. And we're going to make things in our country again over the next 10 years. So we would expect massive investments in the manufacturing base in Indiana. I think Indiana's statewide GDP is somewhere around 22 to 24% manufacturing base. This is a prime area that should see significant investment over the next 10 years. It'll be a tailwind for investment, for jobs, for consumer spending.
Meantime, Northwest Indiana, a region that has faced some challenges in recent years, seeing a population increase for the first time in more than a decade. The region attracting a new kind of worker.
Pretty broad sector of a lot of white collar jobs, law, accounting, architecture, engineering, design services, computer design, things like that, right? Stuff you need some education, some skill, and they're generally high paying. And I think you're going to hear a lot about that because over the last few years, that is the sector of employment that we've had the strongest competitive advantage in of any sector here in Northwest Indiana. And so this is a very good sign, something we've been trying to push for a long time. Don't just bring in any jobs, bring in high paying, high skill, high education, desirable jobs that have the potential to replace the high paying manufacturing jobs that we've lost.
Indiana University Clinical Associate Professor of Business Economics and Public Policy, Phil Powell joins us now to break it all down. Phil, it's always great to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, your kind of your top line takeaways heading into this important Christmas shopping season, if you will. A lot of indicators that the economy's good.
You know, there's a lot to celebrate right now.
Yeah.
If my business depends a lot on Christmas and the holidays, there's all sorts of reasons to be optimistic. There's no slowdown right now in consumer spending. Yep. Consumers are coming into the season very strong. And inflation is down around 2% right now. We've had a few years where that was a real worry, but as we go into this holiday season, inflation has been tamed.
And some positive news here in Indiana, as we were talking off camera a moment ago, wage growth and productivity growth, as you look at some of those numbers, positive.
You know, as we end this year, for the first time in a long time, the state of Indiana, our productivity, which leads to higher wages, is growing faster than the rest of the nation, and not just a little bit, but by almost a percentage point. So this gives the new General Assembly and the new governor, a lot of momentum as we go into the new year.
As you look at, again, more at the macro level, and you talk about the prospect for tariffs. In fact, there's just some news out here in the last 24 hours. President-elect Trump and looking at Mexico and Canada, the impact of tariffs, especially on a manufacturing state.
Tariffs is something markets are worried about right now because it can lead to inflation. It can increase our price of goods sold, especially in manufacturing, because a lot of our manufacturing plants here in Indiana import a lot from other countries. So this is what we're looking at on inflation. But if we see just targeted use of tariffs, it won't be as bad. The real worry is this going to be widespread and across all imports that come into the state?
Consumer confidence is so important when it comes to shopping and buying things, obviously. Again, as we were talking off camera, inflation coming down, beginning to track downward. But is from the psychology of the consumer, is it reaching everyone, or is it kind of an imbalance?
You know, this is why we feel worse. Our emotions are worse than it really is out there. We've come through a tough slog with inflation. I mean, prices for food, gas, energy, rents, they've all gone up. And so I think that's why people feel worse than what we see in the marketplace right now. But the data suggests, again, as we go into this holiday season, as we go into the new year, there's all signs of optimism in terms of the data.
So it sounds like a rather optimistic outlook near term, but also longer term, as we heard a moment ago here in Indianapolis, billions of dollars of investment looking to downtown Indianapolis, manufacturing sector perhaps positive. So a rather positive outlook?
Lot of great investment in the city, a lot of leadership from different civic organizations and from Indiana University and Purdue University. This is going to be a great year for Indianapolis to reset its economic pace, to really contribute a lot to the U.S. economy and be even more competitive than it has been in the past.
Your Associate Professor Phil Powell. Phil, great perspective, great to see you as well.
Thank you.
All right.